Hey guys, I'm Max Matern from Ownex, and if you're watching this, you've probably been told something about a DELV, but still don't totally understand what it is. So here goes. DELV stands for Dealership Enthusiast Lifecycle Value, and to explain it, I'm actually going to drop the dealership part first and explain just Enthusiast Lifecycle Value. Now, at Ownex, the very first thing we ever started focusing on as a business was understanding the loyalty of customers and how that drives profitability for the dealership. We did that by studying the transactions across all three departments, sales, parts, and service, and then associating all these different fragmented interactions with the individual consumers that had them. When we did that, we then took that information and began to split out their timelines based on when they bought new units. So in this example, the green dots are when they buy a major unit, and then their blue and yellow ones are when they come back for things in fixed operations or parts and service. We then sorted those customers by the highest enthusiast lifecycle value down to the lowest and broke those into three different subsets that we called loyal, neutral, and vulnerable. When we started studying these three different subsets of customers and kind of comparing them to each other, we ended up at a graph that looked like this. And almost every store we've studied looks exactly like this. And why this graph is important is that what it's showing is that the average customer that we usually build our processes around, or that we focus on in 20 club meetings or conversations amongst our peers in dealerships, is all about how do we get that average customer to spend more money. When in actuality, the customer who's spending the most amount of money and most engaged are the loyal customers over here on the right-hand side. They're making considerably more profit. So our objective at Ownex has always been, how do we identify what built loyalty in those customers and make more of that? So that idea of enthusiast lifecycle value is what turned into the ELV of our DELV analysis. Now, the DELV analysis, when we do it inside of a store, is a really large document, but a lot more than that. Within this document, though, includes a bunch of different areas that we study. We first start off with financial, inventory, and sales. This is what we call our dealership vitals. And then we've got information on customers, culture, and layout. All of these, we actually score every single one of them independently. That way, it's easier for you as a dealership to look back at a certain area in your store and say, ooh, my biggest issue is in inventory. How can I handle that more effectively? Now, when I talk about these dealership vitals, I usually draw them in this way, where we've got these three overlapping important sections of the dealership, and each department within the dealership has their own score in each of these. So let's look at financial to kind of explain it at a high level. Every dollar that comes into your dealership has a cost associated with it, expense, and payroll. And every department has a perfect formula for that. We call these healthy dealership recipes. The right amount of profitability, the right amount of expenses, we're paying the right amount of payroll. It's not about having the cheapest payroll or cheapest expenses. It's about having a good balance to keep the store healthy and the customer interaction healthy. So that's one of the first things we do, is understand financially how healthy the operation is. The next thing is we start looking at inventory. We identify how old your inventory is across parts, accessories, and even service, which is time. And we start to identify ways to move that inventory more effectively. How are you merchandising it, promoting it, discounting it? How are you quickly moving that stuff and managing down your turns? Then we go back and look at the sales of each individual department. Now, we primarily look at your ability to close sales or re-engage customers, really changing from this clerking model, which is about moving product and meeting the demand that comes through, which takes very little time, but has very low profit per customer. This is what was happening during COVID for many stores. We had so much demand, we didn't have to try that hard, didn't have to build that much profit per customer or even loyalty per customer. But we're in a different market now, and we need to move people, not just move product. We need to create demand, and that takes more time, but does drive much higher profit per customer, which when we think about the loyal customers, those are the ones that we're really going after or trying to create more of, and that takes time, but creates more profit. So these are the dealership vitals that are a part of your DELV analysis. So I've kind of explained all three of those as well as the customer one. But there's two others that are very important to this, and that is, if we're going to try and change the way that your customers interact with the dealership and create more loyalty, it also means that the entire team has to be on board with that. So we do a culture analysis. That's going to basically create a score for every individual department. It'll identify growth risks. It's going to identify areas of improvement, overall satisfaction, and it is completely anonymous. So staff is able to air their grievances or give all of their ideas, and we're going to run that through this entire plan and say, how likely is this to really make a pretty significant difference on them? Now, if you want to get started on that now, you absolutely can. If you go to ownex.io/survey, this anonymous survey is right there. You can actually fill this thing in now, send it in, and then once we get the entire head count of the store, we build it into this report automatically. So that is the culture piece that goes along with this. The last one that we do is that when we're on site, we like to study the layout of the store and the effect that it has on the interaction of customers. We've studied lots and lots of stores with lots of different merchandising styles, lots of different service department layouts, and we use that information to say, ooh, these moves will probably drive your profitability even more, or these are some other areas we've seen parts departments set up to organize more effectively. So that's information we'll bring to you as well and give you a full analysis and study to say, here's how you're using your space, here's how you could do it more effectively. Now, that explains the layout part, but one of the most important final pieces of the DELV analysis is actually the roadmap. And the roadmap is where we come up with, here's what we would do if we were you. And those things include the processes that are required, the behavior that needs to happen in those ways, the tools that either exist now or we will help you develop to be able to put these steps into place, and most importantly, the feedback to prove that this is actually working and it's making a difference for your customers, and most importantly, for your bottom line. So our objective in this entire thing in studying any store is that we want to make sure that we improve the ownership experience by aligning dealership operations to the customer lifecycle. Understanding how we best engage with individual customers, make loyals more loyal, and make stores more profitable. And we built our entire company on that idea and even named it after that. So if you have any additional questions, you'd like to talk about this anymore, please feel free to reach out to me. My email is max@ownex.io. And I look forward to seeing you at your DELV analysis.